When Trump finally says out loud what every other official tiptoes around about Ilhan Omar, the reaction isn't polite applause. The entire arena explodes. The title isn't exaggeration. It's exactly what happens when a president stops using appropriate language and starts talking like the crowd actually talks about immigration fraud and double standards. On one side, you have a congresswoman who, according to years of reports, may have married her own brother to get into the country. On the other side, you have a political class terrified to even mention it. Trump walks right into that gap, detonates the taboo, and then somehow still has to leave the White House to drag his own party across the finish line. Trump isn't sitting in the White House with his feet up. He's in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania, packed arena, freezing night, out there campaigning for Republicans, while the same media that hates him insists he's not popular anymore. And if you want proof of how ridiculous that narrative is, just listen to what sender back energy all over again. Thunderous applause, one of the most raw rally moments you'll see. But while pundits clip it as just another Trump rant, something else is quietly moving in the background. Investigators who are actually pulling her file and treating that allegation like a real case, not a punchline. What makes Trump's rally moment land even harder is that it isn't just campaign bluster anymore. There's an actual federal process unfolding behind it. Earlier that same day, Tom Haman appeared on Newsmax and for the first time openly confirmed that Ilhan Omar's immigration records are being pulled for review. Not speculated about, not rumored, pulled, reviewed, examined. That alone changes the entire tone of what Trump said on stage. Homeman explains that officials asked him specifically to look into allegations that Omar, a Somali refugee who later became a U.S. lawmaker, married her own brother to help him gain legal status in the United States. It's the exact claim Trump is repeating in front of thousands of people. But Haman isn't laughing about it. He says he was briefed by one of the most respected fraud investigators inside Homeland Security investigations. Someone he knows personally, who went through the file and concluded there was immigration fraud present. Then Homeman drops the detail that reframes the entire timeline. The statute of limitations became an issue over the last 4 years when this story was originally being pushed. And he asks the rhetorical question with a raised eyebrow. Who was president? Who was running DOJ translation? Under Biden, nothing happened. Under Biden, the case was sidelined. Under Biden, the clock was allowed to run down. But now, with Trump back in charge, Haman says everything is changing. Records are being pulled. Files are being re-examined. He says he's running it down this week, treating the allegation as a potentially deportable offense. Not a meme, not a rumor, not a political jab. And once you understand that this investigation isn't just theater, you have to look backward. Because people have been shouting about these allegations for years, while the political class worked overtime to pretend none of it existed. What makes this moment even more surreal is that none of this started with Trump on a podium yelling into a microphone. The host reminds viewers that this allegation has been floating around for years, long before Trump ever touched it. Outlets like the Daily Mail were digging into Omar's marital history. Tucker Carlson was covering it on Fox when most Republicans were too scared to breathe in her direction. Conservative operatives in Minnesota were so convinced something was off that they hired private investigators, sent them across multiple continents, and started gathering physical evidence. And that's where the story takes a turn that almost sounds scripted. According to that earlier reporting, investigators managed to collect a discarded cigarette butt and a drinking straw linked to Omar's second husband. They sent those items to a DNA lab. The lab allegedly came back with a result suggesting the man was a sibling, not a cousin, not a distant relative, a sibling. And instead of the FBI treating that as explosive evidence of potential immigration fraud, the Bureau reportedly shrugged and said the statute of limitations had run out. Nothing they planned to pursue. The host says this is the point where the whole saga gets even wilder because people who've seen the file insist the evidence was real. Yet Homeman's current federal review ends up connecting these dots. If the DNA angle lines up with what investigators are finding now, the fallout wouldn't just hit Ilhan Omar. It would blow open one of the biggest political cover-ups in recent Democratic history. And while all of that hangs over Washington like a storm cloud, Trump isn't hiding behind advisors or posting threads online. He's out on the trail doing the job his own party refuses to do. When the camera cuts back to the rally itself, the contrast is almost comedic. You've got CBS, NBC, MSNBC pumping out segment after segment, insisting Trump is losing popularity, that his presidency is stumbling, that the country is turning against him. And then you look at the actual footage. Thousands of people wrapped in blankets, standing in freezing Pennsylvania weather, camping out since 2 a.m. just to get a spot inside the venue. Lines around the block, overflow crowds, people literally begging security to squeeze in just one more row. And Trump sees it immediately. He jokes about how many people are stuck outside, then asks the crowd if anyone wants to give up their place so those folks can come in from the cold. He barely finishes the sentence before laughing. "I don't think so." And the room erupts. He doesn't even have to try. He greets Pennsylvania as this incredible commonwealth salutes the proud, hard-working American patriots who showed up. And the arena answers with a roaring wall of USA chants that shake the rafters. And that's where the host cuts in with the obvious question. If Trump is supposedly this unpopular, if his approval is tanking, if nobody wants him around, then who exactly are these thousands of people who keep breaking teleprompters? But that leads to a much sharper question for the Republican Party. Why does the sitting president have to fly across the country and do the campaign groundwork that other Republicans should have been doing years ago? The rally footage fades, and the host pivots to something that cuts even deeper than the Omar moment. The Republican Party's total dependence on Trump to drag them across every finish line. He plays a Fox News clip with Tyrus, the former WWE star who never sugarcoats anything. And Tyrus says out loud what millions of conservatives mutter under their breath. And he hates that the president has to leave the White House, interrupt real governing, and go campaign for Republicans who can't pack a cafeteria, let alone an arena. And he's brutal about it. When Trump shows up, the place is sold out, energy through the roof, people chanting before he even walks on stage. The minute Trump leaves, 4 people, he says, and 2 of them are the candidates' family members. His message to the GOP is painfully simple. Grow up, step up. Want Trump's endorsement? Sure, but stop hiding behind it.